Hello, Ice and Fire nerds. This is Chris, and welcome back to another Game of Thrones / House of the Dragon prequel video. I apologize, I've been gone for a couple weeks. I've been on my ass with COVID, so I finally got over that crap, and now I'm back trying to rebuild this channel. So do me a huge favor and hit that like and subscribe button, as I'll go ahead and state my goal for 2022 is to hit 100,000 subscribers like we should have back in Game of Thrones Season 7 or 8. Unfortunately, that did not happen, but that's okay. We're still here, we're still grinding, and we'll try to get there. We will be going back to more House of the Dragon content, as well as live streams, breakdowns, all that good stuff when the season starts as well. And of course, going back to our post-show live stream Q&As as well once the season starts, which I believe will be in April. So a couple of things I want to talk about today, but first let me remind everybody I do have a debut fantasy novel now available called The Crimson Gods. It has been out since October the 18th of last year. And it is medieval fantasy with a dark fantasy twist, so that is now available on Amazon and everywhere books are sold. We have a hardcover available, paperback, as well as audiobook and ebook. And as a matter of fact, right now, the hardcover is 40% off on Amazon. So if you like medieval fantasy, dark fantasy, all that good stuff, please check out The Crimson Gods. I really appreciate all the support. And to everyone who's already gotten the book, read it, and left reviews, I really appreciate all the support. So anyway, let's jump in. A couple little stories here as far as House of the Dragon news. First of all, Peter Dinklage, who played, of course, Tyrion Lannister in Game of Thrones, has a, I would say, hot take on why people are still mad on how Game of Thrones ended. So anyway, a few days ago, he did speak with the New York Times in an interview about some upcoming stuff he's been working on. And of course, they asked him about Game of Thrones and how it ended. And he said the following, quote, "They wanted the pretty white people to ride off into the sunset together," he told the New York Times in a recent interview, which I think is a stupid, horrible take. Of course we wanted everybody to ride off in the sunset together. I think that would have been a better ending. But this is a bad take on his part. I'm not sure why he's throwing in the color of anybody. It makes no sense to me. But he also had some more to say about it, so let's get into that as well. Dinklage then cited Gott's fantastical elements as a reason not to really get caught up in the show. By the way, it's fiction. There's dragons in it. Move on, he added. So not only is he saying we just all wanted, the pretty white people to ride off in the sunset together, I suppose referring to Jon and Dany ruling from the Iron Throne and everybody living happily ever after, but it's also just fiction with dragons in it, so it's time to move on. I don't know at what point actors or actresses go from, struggling actors and actresses who are trying to make it, who really appreciate all their fans to help them get there, to help them achieve that level of fame. At what point do they become elitist assholes who now shit on the fans for not liking something that you were involved in? And he goes on to say, no, but the show subverts what you think, and that's what I love about it. Yeah, it was called Game of Thrones, but at the end, the whole dialogue when people would approach me on the street was, who's going to be on the throne? I don't know why that was their takeaway, because the show really was more than that. Yeah, you just kind of proved the point that we were all trying to making about how this show ended. It was never about who was going to sit on the Iron Throne. Dany was going to take power and apparently break the wheel, but of course she did go the Mad Queen route a little too quickly, although I do think she will go that way in the books as well because of what George R. R. Martin has said himself.
Are you worried that some fans will have Dan and David's ending in their mind's eye? Would that be a disappointment to you?
I don't think Dan and Dave's ending is going to be that different from my ending because of the conversations we did have. But they may be on certain secondary characters, there may be big differences. And yeah, some of the people will have that.
These are the major story beats. This was A Song of Ice and Fire. That's the story he sold HBO. The way they did it was just pure shit, and you know this, Peter Dinklage, by the way. I know you thought aspects of this show are written really poorly, especially in the last couple seasons. Other actors have said this. You've kind of hinted at it yourself. So I don't know why you're still playing nice to Dan and Dave. I guess just potentially want to go back to HBO at some point for something, although they do not work there anymore. So just stop trying to be fake and just understand that people took this seriously. It affected a lot of people in a lot of different ways. Entire YouTube channels and careers were made and destroyed off of this show. So it's not just some fictional thing with dragons in it, so we should just move on. This is a horrible take for Peter Dinklage. Now, granted, I am a huge fan of Peter Dinklage. I think he was outstanding in Game of Thrones, for the most part, except for the writing, which wasn't his fault near the last couple seasons. But Tyrion Lannister is one of the pivotal characters in Game of Thrones. I think we all really enjoyed Peter Dinklage bringing him to life. So for him to all of a sudden be turning on fans and saying, look, it's time to move on, it was just fantasy, it had dragons in it, and you just wanted the pretty white people to ride off into sunset, that's why he didn't like it. I think is a pretty damn bad take. So just a bit of advice for Peter Dinklage, or at least for this take. Here's another piece of advice I would give that might be quite controversial.
You could shut the fuck up.
But anyway, that was his take on the ending of Game of Thrones as he was asked about House of the Dragon, and he does say he looks forward to seeing that show and how it ends, since he doesn't know what's going on as far as the Fire and Blood books, but he didn't really sound that enthusiastic about it anyway. And to be fair, he's probably tired of being asked about Game of Thrones all the time, and he is working on other things, but this is no time to start shitting on the people that got you there in the first place. All right, and our next bit of good news, I believe this is about a week old, so I apologize, maybe a little more because I have been down and out for a few weeks. But George R.R. Martin himself was talking about on his Not a blog post back in December 29th that he was really excited to see that House of the Dragon made the top of the list for MovieWeb's most anticipated original TV series of 2022, and House of the Dragon is now #1. And he's in good company, as he mentions here in his blog post, to be in the same list with Amazon's new Tolkien series. Of course, we're talking about Lord of the Rings coming this year as well. Neil Gaiman's Sandman, Marvel shows, Star Wars, etc. Good company to be in. But the interesting part here is that he says here in his Not a blog post, I'm anticipating House of the Dragon pretty eagerly myself for what it's worth. Okay, I'm hardly objective. I know a lot of what you will be seeing. I wrote the book. Also, mum's the word now. Don't tell anyone. I've seen a rough cut of the first episode, and I loved it. It's dark, it's powerful, it's visceral, just the way I like my epic fantasy. So he goes on to say that, Ryan and Miguel have done a great job in the cast. Just as with Game of Thrones, most viewers only have heard of a few of the actors, but I think you're going to fall in love with a lot of them, only to have your heart broken later when, but no, that would be telling. I think the Targaryens are in very good hands. Anticipate away. I do not think you will be disappointed. So this is really, really good news because, as we all know, he really loved the first few seasons of Game of Thrones. It was some of the best television ever made and some of the best adaptation television, by the way, the first 4 seasons. And he was very happy with that. Of course, they caught up with him because he decided not to write the books on time. But the point being that he seems to enjoy it. He's seen the first episode, which tells me they do have a first episode, even though it's probably a rough cut. They're probably still adding post-production stuff as well. And I do think it will come out in April. So really good news for us fans who are looking forward to getting back to Westeros. I'm a lot more excited about it than I thought I ever would be. I know there's a lot of people out there that were like, I'll probably never watch Game of Thrones, anything related to that again because of how it ended in Season 8. And I do understand that, but I do think once this next trailer drops and we get closer and closer, we start seeing more TV spots, teaser trailers, full trailers, etc., I think a few people will come back and join us on this exciting new journey. The great thing about it is, from a YouTube standpoint, is this is going to be on for 7 or 8 seasons. So this time, instead of starting like I did in 2015 on Game of Thrones in the middle of Season 5, we are starting at the very beginning of Season 1, and I really, really look forward to it, and I hope you guys will join me on this journey. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. And as usual, thank you for all the support, especially to you guys on Patreon. And a huge shout out to my executive Patreon SmokeScreen producers. And of course, if you dig what I do here, please give these videos a like, comment, and a share. And do me a huge favor, help us hit this goal this year in 2022 to turn this YouTube channel around and hit 100K subscribers, as we should have in the first place back when we hit about 85,000 near the end of Season 8. So again, I appreciate all the support. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.